so welcome to our spoiler discussion of Stephen King's It of 2017. So if you've listened to our non-spoiler review, we mentioned how our things that we left out for the spoiler talk. So now we're going to go into more detail about how we feel about the film and also talk about things that are more present in the movie as well.
Now, we did the back history, so if you want to know back history about who was going to direct and all that stuff, we don't want to feel like repeating that again, so go to that if you want to know more, like, about the production and all that crap. So this is going to be what we thought and, verbatim what we saw and what we liked.
Yeah, and so first we'll start out with is, as we know, the general story of how the first time that we see it in the film and also in the book is when he confronts Georgie. Yeah. Now, Bill Denbrough, who's basically the leader of the group of the Losers Club, as we know, has a little brother named George when he was younger, or when a year before, where he and his brother were, he was making a sailboat for his brother, and we just tell him to be careful out there on his own because
got keys.
Yeah, it's like you'll float down here in Poto. But anyway, yeah, the lovable Georgie decides to go out on his own, and he's just going on the rainy day where he's in his slicker and everything, and then his sailboat gets lost after it goes down the drain, and then it ends up in the sewers.
Yes.
And then that's when we get to see our first glimpse of Pennywise. Now, I'll admit, the first time I saw the scene, it was actually on Annabelle on the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, this one, because of the crazy high hopes with this one. I mean, this movie was getting promoted everywhere. I mean, this film took over Facebook, YouTube. I could not get anywhere without fucking seeing the scene or any trailer from Stephen King's It, and so I did see the 4 minute on YouTube.
Yeah,
I didn't go with you.
Yeah, it was leaked on YouTube before it got taken down, because the only way you were able to see it is if you actually went to the theater and saw Annabelle Creation.
Yeah,
which is, and I saw it in its true form. Well, I first watched it on Facebook because that's where somebody leaked it on there. Yeah. And when I first watched it, at first I was a little bit worried because when we first see Pennywise, he's creepy enough as it is, but the one thing that kind of got to me was the voice. I was worried because the voice he was using, I felt like was a little too Scooby-Doo-ish.
Hiya, George. Yeah. Wanna balloon? That teaser trailer where they did the wanna balloon? That was the one I got fucking worried about.
Well, it was the scene itself with Georgie that kind of threw me off. But because, this voice, I was like, well, this is kind of weird hearing this voice like that. But then after watching, I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah. That's actually pretty good because he's actually luring the kids to him with that voice.
Yeah, he's using a kid's tone voice. It's not like what Tim Curry did where he's like, oh, bucko, he's being a childlike manner. And I'll tell you right now, that fucking scene right there really is disturbing because you got him going from being really friendly, and then he has that really pop, and then next thing he goes.
He has that stare, kind of like Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
And you can hear him hiss.
And it's you see the slob coming down his mouth,
and it's just like he jumps from toying with his food to being friendly to I'm hungry, and then he becomes mean. It's like he's got all these like adapters to him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the first brutal part of the movie where you get to where Georgie is reaching there to get his boat. All of a sudden, you see these big fucking teeth come out of Pennywise where it extends, kind of like the xenomorph from Alien.
Yeah, and it's like 1,000 teeth, man, and we've been wanting this for so long. The miniseries was too watered down, and then were able to get it in our imagination from the book. We actually get the part where he straight up just tears Georgie's fucking arm and just tears. I mean, next you know, you got Georgie without his arm and blood just pouring. You see it through the water
and everything. That's disturbing. Not just that, but they do some basically straight out of Nightmare on Elm Street, where right when he's trying to get away from the sewer, you see Pennywise's arm crawl out of there like Freddy Krueger and grab him back.
It's like 10 feet. His arm goes like 10 feet out, and he's like draws him in. And you got this old lady just sitting there knowing something fucked up happened, but she doesn't want no part of it because she's scared.
Yeah, which was actually something different because well, we'll go into detail later on our
On the
next
book
video.
one, yeah.
But it was a little different from the book because we only see Georgie on the ground. He doesn't get pulled in the sewer.
He's sitting there screaming.
Yeah.
In pain, dude. Like, and you see it too. Like, it's not like it's just showing you just the blood. You actually see the meat when he's trying to, like fucking trying to get out of there.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh god, it was pretty bad.
But then when we get to the rest of the story, we actually get involved with more of the detail with the kids. And as we discussed before, not really too much to go into detail.
Yeah, wasn't that considered a year before?
Yeah, it was a year before.
Yeah.
It was 88.
Yeah.
Which was 3 years actually after the novel ended. Because the novel ended in 1985.
Yeah.
This time we're getting the Losers Club introduced throughout the film and everything. And the one character that actually got me curious the most when I first got him introduced was Patrick Hockstetter. Now we mentioned this before in our last video, but he's basically part of the gang of the Henry Bowers gang that picks on the kids and everything. And we also get introduced to another character we didn't mention either called Greta. Now, Greta is a character in the movie that basically picks on Beverly for being an outcast, and she's being, abused by her dad all the time and all that shit.
Yeah, both of those characters did not make any
appearances in the miniseries. But in the books, they're not really main characters, but they're very in detail. Yeah. They're major characters in the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two characters I was very curious about because. Not going to go into... Well, I'll say this, that Greta becomes later part of a big story with Eddie.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting how she goes from a bully picking on Beverly, but then she has like a soft spot for Eddie.
She is supposed to be his wife in the future, so...
And so... And then Patrick Hockstetter is... basically a guy who spends his time doing pyromaniac shit with, Henry Bowers. And when we first see him, I was really curious. But then they do pretty much underuse him because...
Yeah, he is really...
That is one of my cons because they do pretty much underuse him because the only time we see him is when he's with Henry and all them. And they are picking on Ben, who, as we know, is the new kid on the block, which which is funny because they make fun of that where he's listening.
This film, I am so glad they got rid of the '60s. A lot of you are saying that, oh man, it should be in the '50s and '60s. No, we've already got that. I actually love the '80s setting.
I love the soundtrack in this.
Yeah, because they're actually trying to promote. Our Freddie, Jason type shit, and then our rock and,
it'd be really cool?
What?
For some reason, I half expected them to use AC/DC.
I was expecting that, too.
I thought it was going to pop up.
Because Stephen King and AC/DC, that must be, they must be best friends.
Yeah, that's his favorite band.
Yeah, it's his favorite band, yeah.
So I'm actually surprised they didn't use their music in this. But... so, you get your cool 80s music throughout, and you get the look of the 80s, too, with their, especially when Eddie's wearing his shorts.
They do capture the 80s very, very good in this movie, yeah.
So, but basically going back to Patrick Hockstetter, he's basically introduced at the beginning of the film with Bowers and all that, and then they pick on Ben, and then when they're going after him after that really brutal scene where fucking Ben gets his name, Henry Bowers' name cut on his belly with an H. Yeah, so unlike the miniseries where Henry was going to put it on there, they actually do it to where Henry actually fucking cuts him.
Yeah, and you see him cut him slow, and it's like pretty fucking brutal. But for you guys who don't know who Patrick is, because I know everybody's read the book and people didn't see him at all in the miniseries, so like, who the fuck's Patrick? He'll give you a little bit more description.
We'll do that in the novel.
In the novel
but
part.
For the movie part.
But he is actually, believe it or not, is even more ruthless than Henry.
Yeah.
We just got Henry, so we know who Henry is.
Yeah.
But Patrick is, there's a time and place where Henry kind of pussies out eventually. Shockingly, Henry pussies out. Patrick is supposed to be relentless where he doesn't pussy out, and then Henry's like, kind of like, what the fuck, why would you do that? I mean, Henry is a bad motherfucker, but Patrick becomes 10 times a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, so. That's what I'm saying. But we'll go more into that in our detail with the book.
Yeah.
But anyway, from the movie standpoint, they make it to where Patrick ends up going to the cave where we get that there is that really creepy scene, though, where he's trying to use the fire, and then he these fucking zombies in there.
Yeah, these zombie kids that... some of them look cool, some of them look CGI.
It looked kind of like Walking Dead for a minute.
And I think that's one of my weakest of Pennywise's killings in the movie because that was just so quick. It was like a blink of a fucking eye. I'm like,
I thought it wasn't even on screen. I don't even know if
it was just a scream.
Okay.
I was like, but Pennywise itself even was like...
Yeah, because he just kind of grabbed on him.
Looking. Yeah, it was a quick one. It was my least like, which pissed people off because he's actually supposed to get a notable death in the like in the novel, and a lot of people were really upset with that. So can't judge that. So I don't know.
But anyway, we also got some other characters we didn't touch base on, like the pharmacist guy, Mr. Keene. So in this movie, I was going by the trailers when I first watched, and I was like, you know who he kind of looks like? He looks like if Stephen King fucked Jeffrey Dahmer and had a kid.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
because he had the glasses.
He reminded me of that fucking one dude off of Tales from the Crypt, the one where he goes to that fucking that resort with that rich dude and his wife.
Yeah.
And the dude is like, he thinks his best friend's fucking his wife. And
I thought it was the same dude, but apparently it was a different actor.
It's not. It's a totally different actor. I was just seeing that too. I'm like, oh. But the way he smiles like that dude.
Yeah.
So I thought it was him, but it wasn't. But yeah, you get him. But they do use him very minimum too.
Yeah.
So.
Because in this one, you know, he's the pharmacist that gives Eddie the medicine and all that. Mm-hmm. And you know, but from the way that he looks, the way he's talking, because in the same scene that they're getting medicine for Ben and all that, because you know, the Beverly's also in that scene where they introduce.
They meet him for the first time.
And then you can kind of get the idea that in this version, Mr. Keene is like, pretty much kind of has like that pedophile look.
He is, because she's flirting with them so they could still, because they're trying to help Haystack. Well, I like to call him Haystack still.
Which they never call him in the movie.
Yeah, they don't call him in the movie. Ben, he's pretty cut really bad, and they're trying to help him and everything, and she's in there getting tampons. And she's like nervous, and then she runs into the bully girl that picked on her at the beginning of the movie, and she's like just accidentally runs into the Losers Club, and you know she actually had a thing back in the day with Bill where they did a play as a kid and they kissed, and then they didn't see each other for like fucking 10, 12 years or something shit like that. That's the first time they've talked to each other since then.
Yeah, and you know what's also interesting was that the film also deals with characters that were also from the miniseries and the book as well that they don't spend a whole lot of time with, but you still get the idea of how the town of Derry pretty much works. You have the mother of Eddie, who is pretty much overprotective of him, and, you know, because of his asthma and all that, which is still same kind of retained.
Yeah. Again, that's somebody I heard they go in detail in
they do.
In the novel, she's like, there's more about her. They use her to the minimum in this one, too.
Well, and we also have other things, too. Like, for example, in this version, we get to see, like, the different forms that it takes, too. Like, as well. Because when the Losers Club are, you know, doing on their daily routines and are going home and all that, one of the first monsters that we get to see is, I think, you know, it was with Ben, because he's still at the library. And we see that weird dude, because he's looking up the history of Derry, which was pretty disturbing. He's looking up the history of Derry and everything, and there's a picture that shows like this kid that's in a tree, and his head's like decapitated.
Yeah, it shows like he goes in more detail, and he's reading like how like over every 27 years he's noticing these mass killings of dead bodies everywhere, and then he goes to the one where the children went missing, and they accused the Indians of killing them.
Yeah,
and it wasn't. There was no evidence of that, and it's been under like cold case, and that's what he's reading. They apparently. Because these kids at first don't really interact with each other. They kind of run into each other in odd ways. I think Stan, Richie, and Bill already knew each other. And Eddie were best friends. Ben, Beverly, and Mike did not. They build themselves to meeting them. All three of them.
Yeah.
So Ben is like, is kind of like he's seeing it. They all see it, but they don't want to talk to each other. Because they think they're the only ones going crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
So Ben is like, don't want to tell anybody, so he's going to do his own investigation, and that's where you see the red balloon going. And there's something that was going on in the background of the screen a lot of people probably didn't recognize because they're paying attention to him. That fucking woman is doing this, smiling, and the librarian.
I didn't notice that at first.
And it was like pretty much Pennywise was watching over him, knew he was investigating.
Yeah, that threw me off. I didn't see that.
And then the whole thing went, and then that's where he goes in there, and it's actually the thing that's chasing him after him is from one of those decapitated things.
It was a decapitated boy in the book.
Yeah, and it was chasing after him, and then it transforms into Pennywise, and that's what Pennywise doing his little. Rah!
Yeah, that's what I love about this movie as well, is that when they build up the tension when with Pennywise, he comes out of nowhere. You know, he just shows up randomly, and they time it.
He'll show good. Yeah, they time it good. They show you your fear, and he becomes that fear of yours, and then whenever it kind of really fucks with you hard, it goes to Pennywise to get ready to feed.
Yeah, especially that part where Eddie is running away from the leper leper,
Yeah.
which was actually new to the movie as well.
Yes.
Which is this weird fucking homeless man, that's kind of like running after him and stuff.
And he's got diseases because Eddie's scared of diseases.
Leprosy, because that's what it is. It's based off of leprosy.
Yeah, and he's got like goo and fucking like goddamn what do you call it, staph infection and fucking MRSA, all the shit pouring out of him. It's just fucking disgusting. And I will say right now, for as far as all of its ship shifting in the movie, this is his most practical effect one that really didn't. There was one time they did use CGI, but for the most part, it was really practical.
It was,
with its slime and all that. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, the only ones they use the CGI the most with is the
Stan's guy.
Stan's, because Stan's fear is basically he has like this fetish. There's like this weird portrait that's at his church because he's at his I think it's a Catholic church. Well, he's Jewish. So he's going to this portrait and he's making sure it sits still. And then all of a sudden, this portrait just comes alive. It reminded me off of The Conjuring 2, where the nun comes out of the picture.
Which is funny because he's like a tall man. He kind of resembles kind of like a Picasso painting that's after him. And he's like really thin, which is that and the fucking leopard guy is actually played from the guy from Conjuring 2.
The tall guy.
Guy. And he's got a Murphy syndrome is what he's got.
And that's actually cool because he can like move his body around.
That's why he's hired everywhere.
Yeah. But that was creepy. But my only problem with that is that while the look of the portrait guy was creepy, I did feel like a couple of times the CGI was noticeable.
It was noticeable.
But when we first see him, it kind of looked like, in parts, it kind of looked like the Creep Show dude from Creep Show.
Yeah. He did, and I also noticed that every time Pennywise shapeshifted him, it was more just to run at the guy and then run away.
Yeah.
It was like Pennywise really wasn't doing anything with that guy compared to Leprosy, who was trying to he's trying to terrorize Eddie and fucking rape him and all kinds of other shit, and then Eddie would get away. That fucking thing that Stan was dreaming of, that's afraid of, it's just like, he runs and it's just like runs away. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What was the point of that having
and
that
then,
guy? Yeah.
Well,
he was cool looking,
that's
but
what I'm
CGI
saying.
was bad.
But one of the best things, one of the best things I liked, because I also like Mike's fear, where basically he sees that thing in the locker or whatever, or that meat factory or whatever. And then it's first you think it's like hands crawling out. And
they're all black and fire.
You actually, that could possibly be foreshadowing the black spot, which we'll probably see in part 2.
Which, by the way, because this is a spoiler one, that it hits home to Mike because that was his mom and dad died.
Yeah.
In a fire, horrible fire, and talks about them screaming and banging on doors and burning alive, and then Pennywise taunts him by using his family burning alive, and that's what I loved about this Pennywise in this one. He goes after personal fucking shit, and he fucks with you, like fucking with Bill in the cellar. We get this cool, oh man, God, this part's fucking cool as shit. Well, this is the famous "you float too, you float too, you float too" in the trailer.
Well, what threw me off was that he's actually using Georgie as a ventriloquist,
and Pennywise has got his hands on inside his body in his spine.
Yeah,
and he's like, and then you see Pennywise raise out of the water, and he's going, "You float too," like mouthing the words, and then next he slams fucking Georgie's dead body, and then he does like, "Rah!" And then like he taunts you with personal shit too.
Yeah,
that's something that they didn't do in the miniseries.
Yeah, my favorite one out of all of them though is the part with Beverly. So Beverly has, she lives, as we discussed, this time, instead of she lives with her dad, who has like a very sexual kind of fetish because he cares about her a lot.
Yeah. Which you couldn't go in too much detail, but they did what they did.
They kind of toned it, but they played it very subtle.
You can tell that he's basically saying, no other boy can have you but me, baby.
Yeah, but basically, there's that famous scene that you see in the trailer where she basically is at the sink and the blood comes out. Now, what threw me off was that in the trailer, it looked all like fucking black and all that.
CGI
I guess because they couldn't show blood in the trailer. In the actual film, that blood looked really fucking practical.
Check this out. There's more to the scene than that. It starts out where they do what they did with the miniseries, like, help me, Bev.
Yeah.
And help us. It's Betty Ripkin. All the, the ones that are missing. And then she puts her tape measure, her dad's tape measure down there. And then, like, it hooks onto her bracelets and shit. And it's trying to fucking, like, pull her inside the fucking drain with them. but she fights it off, but then it starts shooting blood. And this is equivalent to fucking Johnny Depp scene in Nightmare on Elm Street. I did not think that they were going to be able to pull, like, practically like that.
I mean, if it's CGI, it was rendered good. If it was CGI, I was really glad.
I think, really all right, I will give you maybe 10% CGI. I really think they pulled a lot of fucking practical on that, because I was really looking at it. It really looked legit.
It looked like a cross between, like, the pig's blood from Carrie in the remake, at least, and the blood from The Shining with the elevator scene. Because the way the blood was flying everywhere, it kind of reminded me of that scene from The Shining.
Well, it started out with the Johnny Depp thing where it coming out straight
out blowing up. Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminded me of that, and you see it like fucking on the walls, caking on the walls. The lights are fucking. Then the room turns bright red, and then like they do the famous scene where the dad comes in. He don't even see it. He's like, "What are you screaming, Bevy?"
Yeah.
And then she cuts her hair, because in this one she has long hair and she cuts her hair down
because she wants to feel outside of the norm, because she doesn't want to feel like daddy's little girl anymore.
Well, that, and also she feels like because she is pretty with her long hair. I guess she has the.
It's trying to deviate from that. She doesn't want to feel the pretty. She wants to feel more. It's to basically feel outside the norm.
Yeah.
So which I thought was good. I actually liked that aspect.
Yeah.
One of the other things too I enjoyed was that as the film goes along, you really get the emotional side of the story too with the characters,
which they didn't capture
because
that much in the other
especially with Bill and Georgie, because well, we'll get to it later, but you know, you really feel everything with the with the Losers Club. Like they are together as one, as friends, and you know, they'll always have that love for each other.
I think they could have maybe had extra 10 minutes to get more, because there's at times where they want to get to the point real quick, and then they can build the other parts of the story up, because you can't really build up on the whole, like, really getting close. They do it, but I think 10 minutes could have not hurt. I think it would have been cool to see more build up, so you can get even more emotionally attached to these people.
Well, and also,
it did what it did. It was good.
Well, and it helps too that, you know, when they're going through like the way that the film is also on the scope of it, because I heard this was also in IMAX theaters. The way that they're able to get a lot of the stuff in the house on Nabel Street was also creepy as well.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. We finally get Nabel Street, which we hardly ever got. Even in miniseries, it was like a
one
glimpse.
Time. It was a glimpse. We'll talk about that later, but it was just a glimpse in the miniseries.
In the miniseries, but it's actually shouldn't have never been a glimpse, because it's actually a part of the fucking main story.
Yeah.
And they finally bring it in here, and then, you know, they get it to the point where the drain is where Pennywise lives in. And before that, they, you know, because Ben, whenever all of them together, they find out Ben had a portfolio in his backpack, and they ask him why. Dairy, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he explains, "Hey guys, you know, some shit's been going on, man. I've been investigating some fucking crazy shit. Everybody's dying 6 times the national average in a small fucking town in Maine." And then he goes, "Doesn't that make no sense?" And they start all realizing they're all seeing the same motherfucker, Pennywise. So they decide to meet in Bill's fucking garage thing and see like
the famous projector scene that you see in the trailer, which even that scene alone still I think was probably one of the most disturbing sequences. But there's only one thing I did kind of throw me off. Now the way it's building up is pretty cool, because the way it's, you know, you're seeing the images flash back and forth when you're seeing Pennywise.
It's taunting. It's another fucking thing by Pennywise taunting, where he sees his dead brother and then he sees his mother with red hair get transformed into Pennywise as he's smiling.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to your brother's hand.
Yeah.
Kind of fucked up shit.
And then all of a sudden it cuts out, and then you see Pennywise actually coming out of the screen, which, even though we're basically seeing it from their perspective, the CGI I thought was a little overused.
I think this was probably the worst CGI of the whole film. Was this?
Yeah, it did look very cartoonish.
They do cartoonish, where it kind of remind me, if you guys have seen Twilight Zone the movie, there's that anthology one where the boy had that really cartoonish
where he's in Looney Tunes and all
that. It looked like that, and Pennywise like 10 foot tall. He's like, you know, and he looks all cartoony and stuff. I get kids' mind. I think they could have went with a more sinister thing.
Yeah, because I thought
I just that one kind of cringed me a little bit.
It did kind of stick out.
Yeah,
it definitely did.
Yeah.
So that one I didn't really, thought was not well.
But the scene is fucking.
The scene
really
itself
creepy.
is great.
Yeah.
It is disturbing with the whole projector itself.
And then like they're all screaming, and you see Eddie freaking out and tearing the thing, and you hear Beverly screaming, "Please turn it off!"
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it is pretty scary.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the the rest of the stuff that Pennywise does, he actually has some pretty other intense moments as well. Especially that part where remember that scene where Eddie is like not Eddie, Richie. Okay, so when the Losers Club are trying to get themselves to go into the house to take out,
because that's after the projector scene.
Because after that, they plan to go into the house already.
Bill said he wants to find who's doing it to everybody. He goes, it's going to be you or me or you next, my brother. I need to know what, I got to get answers. We already know who this is. We got to stop him. And then that's when they realize Neibolt Street is actually where the well is, which leads to Pennywise's lair. Yeah, and then when they arrive there, that's when we start to see that they discover that... damn, I lost... Oh, I'm sorry. Where Eddie... Or, I'm sorry... I think it's Eddie, Richie, and
Bill that go in first.
Yeah, the other ones are kind of scared.
The other ones are kind of watching to out front. And so them three go in, and then we get that really creepy scene where Eddie is on his own. He gets basically on the ground area, and that's when Pennywise comes out, and you see him like have his bones crushing out and everything.
Oh yeah, he turns in like a fucking spider like off a Exorcist. Yeah. And he comes out, and then like he does some really fun. No, when he fell to break his arm was actually the leopard part again. Okay. And then that part where he had him stuck in that room is whenever he came out of that.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Because his arm was already snapped and he couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Now the leopard pulls some shit where he's like got a pill in his mouth. Take your medicines, Eddie. Yeah. And all that stuff. He's like fucking doing some pedophile shit. And then that's when he falls, and then Eddie, like, while that's going on, you get the Richie thing going on where he's in that clown room. Yeah, well, basically, Bill and Richie get caught from each other, getting away from each other because the door slams, and Pennywise changes the room, and you reveal that there's lots of clowns there. And this was in the trailer, too, but there's a nice little Easter egg where if you look closely, you'll see that Tim Curry's Pennywise actually makes an appearance as a doll form. Yep. As a clown doll. And he also taunts Richie by using, like, he's got missing posters. Like, Pennywise has it where everybody's got missing posters. Yeah. And of them. It just shows Richie. Well, Richie, but it's hinted that they all got one ready for them. And then he's taunting Richie about it. And because Richie admits to being afraid of clowns, he goes, he really doesn't have to transform for Richie. And then that's whenever he does the iconic thing where he pops out, which scared a lot of people apparently, because it was a jumpy scene that really got you. Yeah, because he didn't notice it, because it's supposed to be Freddie Ripskins. Well, because it shows a doll of him like in his same shirt and everything, and it's Pennywise made a doll look like Richie to say he's dead in there, and it's like all tore up and shit. And that's when Pennywise jumps out like a little Jacqueline thing. Yeah, and he's like beat Richie, which is that famous catchphrase. Yeah, and then that's where he does that fucking running in the trailers, where you scream. Yeah, and then that's when we actually discover that it actually has a weakness, because after we see that the kids finally reunite, we see that when they're together, it has no fear against them, because they actually find a way to unite together to stop it. It's kind of like what they kind of did with Nightmare on Elm Street, where you show Freddy, you ain't afraid of him, and it kind of in a way, this actually has a lot of parallel allusions to Nightmare on Elm Street, because the whole mention they got the theaters filled with Freddy movies. There's actually an Easter egg where it shows Nightmare on Elm Street 5 playing at a theater they go to, which was a nice. I thought, well, for the because it's set in 1989. Yeah, so and they're also playing. I think it was the first Street Fighter, I believe. Yeah, I don't know if it was Street Fighter 1 or 2, but the arcade was showing, I think, Street Fighter. But anyways, where they get to Eddie, where he falls, Eddie realizes he snapped his arm in half. And he's sitting there screaming, but Pennywise got everybody trapped. And then Pennywise comes out like a fucking spider, like all like bent out and stuff out of this fridge. Yeah. And then that's where he picks up Eddie, and he's taunting him really like fucked up. And that's where he starts opening his mouth, like his teeth. Yeah, those teeth are like And then, that's where Bill and them heard Eddie scream. They're able to escape their little problems. And that's where they get inside there. Oh, before that scene, Bill finds Betty Ripkins and all these kids torn to fucking
Yeah, because it
shreds.
actually has.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was metaphorically kind of.
Oh, where he's now this is where Pennywise is funny in this movie.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this in our other review, but Pennywise does make some funny humor in this, where they go these doors, right, and one of the doors says "not very scary at all," scary, very scary.
Yeah,
and it's like pick one out of the three doors.
They picked the
not scary, at all.
And it's Betty Ripkins and all the girls that have been missing, all them torn to shreds.
Yeah, they're disemboweled.
Like they're screaming, being tortured, but their like inside's been torn out, and it shows it. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I was surprised they showed that. Yeah,
and then that's where they go in there with like, you know, try to save Eddie from Pennywise. And that's when Pennywise looks back and he's like taunting fucking Billy. Even used Georgie's voice. You gonna leave me behind, Georgie?
Yeah.
Billy? He goes, yeah, you left Georgie behind, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't understand him. But it's like he was taunting how he was telling Bill like how Georgie tastes so good or some shit like that. Fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's where he runs, and that's where Bev came in and clocked him one.
And then when they decide it's like we discussed earlier, when they all unite, it actually has a weakness because the uniting of the friendship actually of the Losers Club makes him weaker because he's losing the fear of them. Or they lose the fear of him.
Kind of represents the turtle, is what it's doing.
Well, but I don't want to bring this up because it's more part of the book, but there's also an Easter egg that's in the film where Bill actually is playing with some kind of Lego thing that's the turtle. So he has like a Lego turtle that's supposed to represent something that gives him like a shield, basically.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
you'll see
in the book, but we'll go into that later. But anyway, basically, not to kind of go over the place. You know, one of the things that also stood out for me the most with this.
Well, then they're finding out that's where they find the well, and that's where they
that's where it actually goes in the
Pennywise
sewers.
is kind of injured, so he's like trying to lure him in the sewer. He's like, come on,
yeah,
I'm hurt, and you know he's trying to plan something.
Yeah,
that's where he goes to the sewer, and that's where they find, you know, to go down there to get ready to go down his lair, and that's where Mike is already. Before that, Mike's already prepared with a gun. They're all prepared. That's when fucking Bowers shows up.
No, this was after.
Was it?
No, because they had to go there twice.
Oh yeah, twice.
They took a break because Richie was upset with Bill after that.
Oh yeah, they got in a fist fight.
Yeah. And so basically to go for
that's where Pennywise slashed Ben right in the stomach and tore him up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so,
which my little con here, it's just a little nitpick. I know these kids don't feel much pain, like fucked up. Pennywise like almost disemboweled Ben by just cutting him like there. Next, you know, he's walking perfect, like he's like, oh, you know, I'm kind of hurt, motherfucker. That's goddamn fucking.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids, I feel like we're so focused on the coming of age. I kind of feel like they don't feel pain sometimes, and
that can take away some of the vulnerability.
Yeah, because Ben was walking around. I was like, damn, Ben, I think I'd be out and about in a fucking hospital tent for the next month, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I really was anticipated the most with this was the Henry Bowers stuff, and believe it or not, this is where we get into something really big, too.
Oh, and then they take it time. All right,
this is where
the Losers Club broke away for like a month.
Yeah. So basically, at the beginning of the film, we see that Henry Bowers, you pretty much get the idea that he's being watched by this cop at first, because at the beginning of the film, he sees a cop that sees him picking on the kids, so he doesn't do anything. Then we get reintroduced to this scene later where Henry Bowers and his friends are actually about to shoot a cat with his dad's gun. Then we see that his dad is actually
the cop,
which threw me off. I was like, wow, okay, so this is interesting.
A dirty cop.
Yeah, and so after that, he basically shoots on the ground, taunting the friends like that.
And he fucks
with Henry Bowers pretty bad.
His dad.
And then this is probably one of my favorite scenes in the film. We see that after that, there's that balloon that's over there by his mailbox. And we see that Henry Bowers goes to it and discovers there's a fucking knife in there, the knife that was missing. And he finds it, and then there's a scene that is so disturbing and brutal that
it's probably one of the most brutal scenes.
Yeah, there's after that, because it seems like he's like being put like controlled in a way. He actually Henry Bowers goes inside back his house. and while his dad's sleeping on the chair, he puts the knife, like, before he opens it, he puts the knife, like, right there where it's unopened.
It's one of those ones where you push a button and it shoots the blade out.
And there's this TV that's playing in the background, like you see in the previews, the TV spots, where this woman and these kids are chanting and saying, just make it a wonderful day.
No, before they do that, she actually communicates with Henry.
It's like,
kill him, Henry.
Kill him, Henry.
Kill him, Henry.
That was pretty disturbing.
Yeah. And then whenever he slices his father's throat, and the father's just, I mean, it's not just a slow death. He's fucking choking on his blood.
Yeah.
Blood is squirting, and this is practical blood here. This is not CGI blood right here. This looks really practical.
It looked like some out of Rob Zombie's Halloween.
And then while he's sitting there dying, that's when they go, kill them all.
Kill them all.
Kill them all. And then Pennywise smiles at him.
Yeah.
On the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, which now I thought that was when one, because in the previews I kind of thought one of the Losers Club was watching.
We left a big thing out that I do want to mention. There's another fucking pretty creepy fucking scene. That's the scene where we get the famous rock throwing and knocking and throwing rocks at each other's and saving Mike's ass.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to hurt Mike, and that's where Pennywise is eating Georgie's hand, and he's like, hi, and he's eating. He's covered in blood. His face on the woods.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
you
could tell the control Pennywise has.
Definitely, man.
So.
And and that's the thing too, is that while the film does have its great, seriousness, you kind of look at some dark comedy into that as well, because the way he's kind of doing it, it's kind of humorous that way too. Yeah. He's like, hey, but anyway,
we get to the final layer part.
Basically, when all bets are off, basically Bowers ends up going to follow the Losers Club, and he gets in a fight with Mike as they go in the well. And we get that scene where Mike actually shows because throughout the film, Mike has this thing where he doesn't want to kill an animal, and he's trying to basically find his strength. And he finds his strength by beating the shit out of Bowers, and then he pushes him down that well.
Which this is where a little con for both of us, for me at that. We don't see Belch and fucking Victor again, and nothing really happened to them. And then we get Henry, just like, between him and Mike's fight is like 2 seconds and it's over with.
Because he gets pushed down a well.
And then that's it. I'm like,
Now we're led to believe that supposedly we're probably going to get a deleted scene, or it's going to be in part 2. That there was actually a scene filmed of the aftermath.
Where Henry slit both Victor and Belch's throat,
or something like that. Basically, we're going to get some kind of resolvement, because he is supposed to come back in the next movie. Yeah. So we know that. But, I'm hoping that they'll probably fix that probably in the deleted scenes they'll probably release, or maybe in the second movie.
Hopefully, man, because that's a big letdown, because, man, the Bowers gang is a big thing, nonetheless. Yeah. They are a big part of the story other than Pennywise.
That's what I'm saying. But when we get to our final climax, I got to tell you, one of the things I really enjoy, though, is this, to me, is probably the way that Pennywise, I can imagine, would have in the sewers. He actually has a carnival that's in there.
Yes. I want to tell you right now, that is actually one of my top 5 favorite things of this movie, is we don't get that. Because Pennywise in miniseries, you're still wondering, other than the sewer, where the fuck does that sumbitch live? Yeah. Other than a goddamn cave. This one brings a lot of carnival feel to this movie. And I like how it's like he's got the kids like
literally floating in the air, and
they're floating like in carnivals around the thing where they're all stringed up.
Yeah,
and then it's got the carnival, and then Pennywise has that thing that voices. I mean, Pennywise is the dancing clown. And for the first time, we actually get the reference of dancing, because he's actually dancing in this one.
Yeah, and then
and there's an Easter egg in that.
Yeah, there is. Basically, this really like dump or whatever they're in is actually the Dark Tower from the books.
Yeah, with the orange thing, there's fire and flame in this, and inside there's a Easter egg, which is hard to see, references Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Which should, because Pennywise's lair is also over there, too.
Yeah, because we've had 2 Stephen King adaptations, and they had to put one of their Easter eggs in here, too, so they did that.
And then Pennywise is, like, fucking dancing, and then he jumps at Beverly, laughing, and this is where he's, like, really creepy Joker laughing.
Yeah, and plus, also, we get to see all the shapes that he does throughout the film as well that come together, and, one of the things that really stood out for me the most after they, have their final battle was we see that really touching scene where Georgie comes out, and you think well, we kind of recalled that it was Pennywise, but you really do kind of feel more of the emotional level because Bill, knowing that it's not him, he still realized at this point he's dead.
He's like, he accepts there's no way you survived him. So when, he shoots his own brother, and then that's whenever. And it's pretty sickening because this is where Pennywise was inside him, obviously, and he starts coming out of his limbs. Like, you see his arm flapping around. He's like that. All blood and gutted and stuff. And then fucking Pennywise starts coming out of all his orifices.
Yeah.
And then that's where he's like, he does that weird, and his eyes just connect, all like creepy looking, like that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool looking, man.
It was. And then we get that really touching scene afterwards when they, basically
we forgot the Beverly's deadlights.
Okay.
When I was doing the dance part.
Basically, it's there's a part where Pennywise is grabbing Beverly, and all of a sudden
she's like, I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
He goes, you will. And then that's where he does the thing, and inside we get the first time ever
the deadlights, which is basically, you're thinking in your head what his true form will truly be in the next film.
Yeah.
So I actually really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
And then we get to where they're having to finally have their battle with Pennywise, and things are really hard because this motherfucker will not die.
No, and that's where he shot whenever he became out of Georgie. Bill shot him, but wasn't loaded.
Yeah.
And Pennywise gets fucking pissed.
Yeah.
On that scene, he tries to bite him and all kinds of shit, and they're all fucking. This is where they all team up and become a team.
Basically, at that point, much like earlier in the film, they actually become united as one. Where since they all come together as friends, as the lucky seven, they are able to overcome their fear, and Pennywise gets weaker.
Yeah.
And that to me was great because it actually showed a lot of the themes right there for the friendship.
And it shows Pennywise actually gets scared.
Yeah, he actually gets himself back into the well.
Well, he backs off to him. And then they're sitting there taunting him like, we'll never be scared of you. We'll come back for you. And it just scares them. And then, like, you see Pennywise say fear. And he falls to his temporary death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically, and you get
that really emotional circle where they cut each
other's palms,
and they do a blood bond saying, please come, we're going to come back if you.
And the film actually ends where it says It Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that, how they did that. And we were gracious enough to be a theater where they actually were releasing the red balloons in front of the.
They did. They actually released the balloons up ahead and was like, yes, that's cool.
Yeah, everybody was cheering on that. That was cool. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, this movie was fucking phenomenal. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
I did too, absolutely. Yeah. And with that, I'm definitely looking forward to part 2 next. I'm hoping that
in 2019, I heard they're going to start shooting next year. So
so they're going to put some things that weren't in the first film that they're probably going to use for flashback sequences for more of the budget. And also, I wonder what the title is going to be because I know that there is an unofficial subtitle going around this one's called Part 1, The Losers Club unofficially. The second one I think is going to be called like, I don't know, Return to Derry or something, or like,
I don't know. There's never been a title before.
Well, on Wikipedia it said something about how the both films have the subtitles that are not actually advertised,
and it should be called Return to Derry
or Return to Derry, or
because in the end of this one they talk
that.
About they're going to leave and their things, but there's going to be that one person staying back.
Yeah, now we all know. In the book, Mike.
Yeah.
But,
though there's rumors somebody said that they were going to try to fucking change it up and do Bill or somebody like that.
Bill would make sense because he's actually
a leader.
There, yeah.
I heard that Andy was actually throwing options of possibly making it Bill being the one standing back.
Yeah. So... but yeah, overall though, I mean, we've pretty much gone into a lot of detail.
Okay, so it's time for pros and cons.
Yeah, same thing like we said before.
Bill Skarsgård, man,
he nailed it,
dude.
Man.
I actually, when I seen you in the trailers and the little sneak peek, TV spots, I already had faith in you. You blew me away, and I called it. You were fucking good, man.
And the kids, they all did great chemistry. If everyone was wonderfully fleshed out. And had their own personality that brought a lot of their characters into tact, and you really get the great coming of age tale with them.
Yes, very good coming of age,
and you really get the really good themes of friendship and fear overcoming together.
And Andres Machete, you did really good this time around, man. I was skeptical, no offense, but here. Mama was not a good movie. It was
I
not.
haven't seen that one.
It was, a lot of people don't like it. I didn't like it either, man. It was so. I mean, it was pretty much, you did the typical paranormal shit that I didn't care for.
Yeah.
CGI. It was watered down. I didn't really care for. I'm glad that you took, from what I understand is, you knew you got controversial backlash for that film, and he went and listened to your fans of what you would change.
Yeah.
And he took it for granted in this one and helped out, you know. It helped out, I think. I think it's cool because all directors make bad movies, and I think Mama had to be made for him to do good in this one. Could you imagine if he didn't have a bad movie, he would have went in this thinking he's got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, but I'm the same way too as well. I think the film also has a lot of great, scary moments that really work well. I couldn't really. There might have been maybe one or two jump scares that you kind of see coming, but for the most part, you're still getting involved with a lot of the atmosphere and the brutality that surrounds the kids and their fears.
Yes.
And as an adaptation, me being read the book, I feel like this is very close to it, and it really retains a lot of the key moments from the book really well.
Yep.
And with that, and also with the great performances and the atmosphere and the score as well, that's very creepy.
Yeah,
and
cinematography
and the way that the film is taking place with building up to that, with the next film. It really gets me. It really brought so much joy to me to see a great Stephen King film again.
And I can't. I trust now Andy for the second one. So
yeah,
I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the next one. Till 2019, our anticipated film we waited all year for finally came.
Yep. And so with that, I give this film a 9 out of 10.
I give it a 9 out of 10 too.
All right. Well, and for those of you who have also, we do thank you so much for joining us on our spoiler discussion of it. For those of you who have also seen it, what did you think of it? Comment below on what you thought of it, and if you like what you see here, you can check out more of our reviews on our channel. You can like and subscribe, and we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
Later.